Over time, I've seen and covered a lot of shitty movies here on my channel. And, well, believe it or not, I do like to watch good movies as well. So, that's why I'm starting this new series on the greatest movies of all time. And, well, how do I know which one are the greatest movies ever made? Well, this is what I did. I took 10 mostly well-regarded top lists when it comes to the greatest movies of all time, and, well, very simple, the movies that were mentioned most often I'll cover during the series. And yes, that will give us a lot of pretentious, old titles of world cinema, and it'll probably not include what you think is the greatest movie of all time, but, just bear with me, this is how I want to do it. I am gonna try to make it not too pretentious, by just praising all of these movies because they are the greatest of all time, because the critics say so. And it's also not gonna be a video where I'll just be explaining why these movies are the greatest of all time. I mean, if you want to know that, just go on the internet. There's more than enough written about each and every movie on this list. No, this list for me, it's really just about having fun while taking a look at the classics. Switching things up a little bit. Does that sound okay with you guys? I hope so. Well, let's see. I'll be going through this list alphabetically, and, well, I guess that numbers come before letters, and in a weird way, 2001 comes before 400. So yes, we'll start with 2001: A Space Odyssey. By Stanley Kubrick, of course, and it's funny how we've seen his A Clockwork Orange on my Most Disturbing Movies Ever Made series, and The Shining on the Scariest Movies Ever Made series, and now, finally, he has his entry on the Greatest Movies Ever Made series. It's his first out of 3 titles, so, well, let's take a look. It's always hard to think of a movie as one of the greatest of all time when it starts with a bunch of actors in monkey suits acting all silly. It's a shame, but that's really all I ever see here, just actors in monkey suits. But after this first chapter, oh man, this is quite a unique movie. Yes, it's science fiction, not everybody loves that. I mean, I myself am not the biggest fan. And when this movie came out, sci-fi movies weren't all that popular anymore, definitely not compared to the low-budget hits of the 50s. But then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere comes 2001. This movie with amazingly designed, well, everything, deep and sophisticated topics and themes, and an ending that makes you go like, It was quite ahead of its time, also predicting technology-wise. I mean, okay, sure, there's no touchscreen yet, but they definitely nailed it with the vertical videos. Okay, let's see, the story. Well, the movie is divided in 4 chapters, and we spent, I guess, most time within the 3rd, where we follow 2 scientists heading for Jupiter on a spaceship that's mostly controlled by an artificial intelligence computer called HAL 9000, or HAL for friend. But really, the story doesn't even matter that much for now. I mean, personally, I love this movie as a work of art. I'm just not the biggest fan of sitting down to actually watch the whole movie. Does that make sense? I mean, it's just so well made. The huge rotating sets, the cinematography is stunning. The music, both the classical and the original score, they're very effective. The themes, like the whole artificial intelligence aspect, it's intriguing, really, and so on and so forth, blah blah, it's also amazing. But, at the same time, it's also over 2.5 hours long and very slow at times, making it perhaps a little hard to sit through. But yeah, really, I mean, I could go on and on about what makes this movie, pretty good. At least to me, what I think is great about it. But I guess in the end, it's really a movie you just have to see for yourself. So, yeah, it's sort of a love-hate relationship. Mostly love, though. Just like with The Shining, this movie is so overanalyzed. Just a short Wikipedia page on interpretations of the movie, it goes on and on and on. It's like, I mean, I get it. Not really. I'm really like, just enjoy the movie. Or at least appreciate it. Or not, I don't really care, but I do think that if you love cinema, it's definitely worth to check out at least once. I mean, it's definitely a work of art. Okay, next up, and I actually forgot to mention, which is pretty cool, every movie on today's list, all 5 movies, they're all from different countries. So we're moving to Europe now, to France, to take a look at The 400 Blows, which is a poor translation from the original title Les 400 coups, and it's poor as in, well, that it loses its meaning, apparently. But hey, I don't speak French, so what do I know? Let's see. Uh-oh, little Antoine is getting in trouble everywhere, at school, at home. That sucks. And it goes from bad to worse, you know, from messing around in class, to skipping class, to running away from home, to stealing. Uh-oh. So, this movie is one of the first and probably the most famous and influential entry in an, at the time, new movement in French cinema, known as the New Wave, or La Nouvelle Vague, which was brought to life by a new generation of filmmakers, many of them who were originally film critics, who were like, the movies in France, they kinda suck, they lack realism and authorship, we have to do something about it. Oui? One of them was François Truffaut, and this movie here, this was his feature-length directional debut, and it definitely does not lack in realism and authorship. I mean, it's semi-autobiographical, and it follows real people. Well, they're actors, but, it portrays just, normal working-class people. It's all shot on location in Paris, all of which was pretty revolutionary at the time. And I kinda like that. It's almost like a documentary, like a time capsule to France or specifically Paris in the early 50s, including the director's personal commentary on that specific era. I mean, it's realistic. It's not balls to the walls craziness. It's a rather calm movie. It's good times, it's bad times, it's just life. It sounds so deep. The boy, he's not that bad. I mean, sure, using the death of your mother as an excuse for why you weren't in class when in fact your mother is very much alive and well, that's a bit sketchy. But at the same time, he's just a young adolescent being hauled down by all these authority figures and maybe he's neglected at home. It's life. It's an interesting watch. I like it. It sure is. It's raw, it's realistic. I like it. Truffaut made 4 more movies with the same actor as Antoine, each in a later stage of his life. But I haven't seen any of them, so can't really comment on that. But this one, yeah, I like it. So, from France we go to Italy to take a look at Federico Fellini's 8½. Or in Italian, Otto Mezzo, eh? Fellini is considered to be among the greatest Italian directors of all time, and this movie is often considered to be his best movie, so oh boy. Well, let's see. Yeah, but I'm actually not the biggest fan of this movie. Maybe I just don't get it. Okay, so it's somewhat autobiographical about a famous movie director, Guido, with a director's block. All the people around him seem to be more concerned about the movie than Guido himself, though. So we just kind of follow him, and his narrative is interrupted with dream sequences and flashbacks to Guido's youth. And, well, the further we get, the blurrier the line between dream and reality becomes. So, even though I was just joking just now about the lame arguments that some cinephiles use when someone doesn't like their favorite artsy movie, I do really think that I simply just do not get this movie. To me, it's really mostly just a lot of talking and talking and talking, then some flashback scenes that I do kinda enjoy, then some dream sequences, and, well, more talking and talking. And the worst part about all this talking is that it was very common in Italy to not record the audio, but to just dub it over later. And apparently one of Fellini's working methods was to just have the actors say random lines and then later in post-production dub them with the finished script. So it's all just pretty off.
Pensa che l'ho anche sognato. Ho sognato che li trovavi un posto. Ma lui si era come impazzito e ci ammazzava tutti e due.
I don't know, it's a pet peeve, but that just always annoys me a bit. But hey, Claudio Cardinal is in it, or how you pronounce her name. And, well, she looks absolutely stunning. Also, we have Barbara Steele, and, in a weird way, she just always looks so oddly mesmerizing. In general, the whole movie looks rather nice, cinematography-wise. And the original score by Nino Rota, I like that as well. All in all of that, it keeps me sorta interested. But I don't know, guys. It's a movie that I would want to like, but with a running time of close to 2.5 hours and with a lot of talking and talking, I don't know, I'm just not the biggest fan. And, well, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not just gonna praise these movies just because, all the critics drool over all these titles here on this list. This one, it just didn't do it for me. But hey, if you're a big fan and then you're like, oh, you just didn't get it, let me know in the comments what I'm missing. Please. But first, well, we'll stay in Europe, but we're going to Germany. Or well, West Germany at the time. Aguirre, the Wrath of God. Or in German, Aguirre, der Sohn Gottes. It's directed by Werner Herzog, one of the great German directors of his time, so let's take a look. This movie is based on real historical figures and events, but quite loosely based. As in, some of these characters did actually exist, and they sorta did this, but all of this probably never happened exactly like this. For example, all these Spanish conquistadores probably did not speak fluent German.
Diese Männer werden die Aufgabe haben, Lebensmittel zu suchen und Erkundigungen einzuziehen.
It's the 16th century, and we follow Aguirre as he takes over an expedition through the Amazon River in search of the legendary, but unfortunately, as it turns out, spoiler alert, also mythical El Dorado, the city of gold. And, well, that's not really a spoiler. That's like spoiling Titanic by saying that, spoiler, the Titanic sinks. But yes, Aguirre, played by the always interesting looking Klaus Kinski, he's crazy, and he slowly becomes a paranoid tyrant as the expedition goes on longer and longer and longer. I kinda like this movie. It's completely shot on location, which must have been a production hell, but the result is quite effective. And a lot of handheld camera work, which gives it an almost documentary-like feeling. And I don't know, the vibing in general, it's pretty hard to describe, but the further you get into the movie, the more you get an almost dreamlike atmosphere. I did really like that. And the music certainly helped. Although it never fully delivers, to me personally, towards the end. I think I was just missing the one special something. I don't know, it's a little anticlimactic, but hey. It's interesting though, also history-wise. I mean, nothing against religion, but Jesus, these Christians were definitely assholes. Mistreating people and trying to force their beliefs, like converting everyone. How the hell did they think that would ever work with these savages, as they would call them? That always gets me a little mad. But yeah, in conclusion, sure, it's a little slow sometimes, there's little dialogue, doesn't really go anywhere. But for the running time of just a little over 90 minutes, yeah, it definitely kept me intrigued. So yeah, is it one of the greatest movies ever made? Well, apparently, I mean, it's on the list. I didn't mind the movie, I thought it was okay. But I can understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea. And I can definitely understand if the next movie is not everybody's cup of tea. One of the only 7 feature-length movies by one of the greatest Russian directors. Let's talk about Andrei Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev. Co-written by Andrei Konchalovsky. I guess that, if you're from Russia, big chance your name is Andrei. Or is that racist? Anyway, yeah, are you ready for some 15th century Russian history? Because I know I am. Because that's what we get here. In 8 different chapters, we follow Andrei Rublev, a famous medieval Russian icon painter, in different periods of his life. But it's not really about him. I mean, sure, we follow him and he got his name on the poster, good for him, but it's almost just as much about Russia in the early 1400s. And I'm not sure how historically accurate it all is, but hey, it looks pretty legit. The locations, the settings, the costumes and all. I mean, I think I wasn't around at the time. Also, some buildings look about 500 years older than they're probably supposed to be, but hey. So, this is a tough watch. First of all, it's long. 3 hours, really, it's basically a real-time retelling of the life of Rublev. And this is the shortest cut available. Fortunately, Tarkovsky thinks that this shortest one is the best cut, so hey. But oh man, it is slow and very dialogue driven, and not just little small talk. It's a lot of real talk, and half the time I have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah, it's not a movie you want to pop in again right after you just finished it, but I'm definitely able to appreciate it. I mean, it looks great, there's definitely some interesting imagery, some cool camera work. You have all these different themes going on. It's actually quite epic, both on a small and a grand scale. And just like in the previous movie, I think it's interesting to see religion, again Christianity here, in a different era. It was a big thing back then, and it definitely plays a big role in this movie. So yeah, I honestly don't know what else to say about this one. Again, it's long, and I can surely imagine someone not wanting to sit through 3 hours of slow, black and white medieval Russian history. But if you're feeling artsy, why not? Give it a shot. I mean, I only dozed off a couple of times. Not as much as during 8.5 though, so not bad. Let's put it this way. If someone comes up to you and he asks you like, hey, are you down to watch a 3-hour long black and white Russian movie about a medieval icon painter? And your initial reaction is not like, hell yeah, I'll order the pizza. Then, you know, this movie's probably not for you. Then again, my reaction wasn't like that. I mean, nobody asked me, of course, but you know, you know whether or not you'll like this movie. So, yeah, Andrei Rublev. Yes, and that brings us to the end of this video. As you might have noticed, I'm starting a lot of new series. I don't know, I just have a lot of ideas. And I'm just seeing how people react to the different series, and if I read like, oh, I want to see more of this or that, you know, I'll continue on that. So, this new series, let me know, was this fun? And in the meantime, have a nice day.